and they wanted to isolate this same thing, amygdalin. Now, Krebs Sr. had a lot of different stories about where and why he got this stuff, how he came up with it, and what his process was, and all that. In his book, he said that he had already theorized that cancer proteins, whatever he was calling cancer proteins, could be broken down by an enzyme, and he had actually made this when he was a student. He initially tried it out in animals, and he found that it was toxic, so he had to boil it down, and eventually he came up with this substance that we are going to learn the name of is Laetrile. Laetrile.
Laetrile?
Laetrile.
Laetrile.
It's a made-up thing, so
Who cares?
Laetrile. So Laetrile. Now, there were other stories later that came up, so it's not quite clear exactly how he came up with this stuff or how his version was synthesized. And as time would go on, it would be a variety of different things as well. Although there is something here, there's an actual substance at the root of it all. There was another story that he, for a while, ran a business where he would analyze whiskey for wood alcohol. And he developed it while he was working on a bourbon flavoring extract somehow.
Just kind of a side hustle. Kind of a side hustle to curing cancer.
Yeah, that he somehow isolated this enzyme accidentally from like mold growing on bear. I don't know. There's a bunch of wild stories. What he eventually started using to get this substance, to synthesize this substance. However he eventually started using apricot pits for it. So that is where
to get to get the whiskey?
No, to get the amygdalin, to get the Laetrile, he used apricot pits.
This is not bourbon related.
No. Okay. This just may have been. There's all these like usually when a scientific discovery is made, it's a pretty clear-cut story, you know? Like, we've talked about Fleming and penicillin, right? Like, it is what it is. Like, he left some petri dishes out and a mold grew. Yeah. It's not like, you know, there's not
bourbon flavor.
There's not a mysterious, convoluted, multiple tales about where it came from. There's usually just like, because it's like written in a paper.
It's not various legends.
No. And most of the time it's not even as exotic as Fleming's penicillin story. It's usually just like,
we tried a bunch of things and then one thing worked, and
it's like Formula 409, right? It was the 409th formula. That's usually the way these stories work. So when you see all these like mythos surrounding the origins, I would raise an eyebrow. Anyway, so they finally settled on apricot pits as the way to get this extract and sell it as Laetrile. And in 1949, Junior actually modified the process and branded it, and that was the official. This is the beginning of this substance, Laetrile. It was pushed as a medicine that could cure cancer at first. This is a treatment. They started selling it as a medicine, as a treatment. This will cure your cancer. We know because of this weird background story, and we promised we did some animal studies. We're going to suggest maybe we did some human studies, even though we definitely did not. We did not do any studies. We're going to kind of hint that we might have, and we're going to sell it. And, of course, the FDA came in and was like, whoa, you can't, no. None of this is right. You can't say any of this. So they rebranded it as a vitamin. B17.
Okay, sure.
Now here was the problem. They'd already
B16.
come up.
Yes, I agree, Sydney.
They said that it worked by breaking down cancer proteins, right? Like that was their whole thing. We know how cancer is formed. We have this weird theory, and we need to break down these cancer cells that come from trophoblasts. We need to break it down with enzymes, and this is why this works. Well, if all of a sudden it's a vitamin, that whole theory falls apart.
Right.
So they changed their theory about cancer to go with it. Then they said, never mind, we were wrong about what cancer is caused by. Instead, it's just a deficiency of this. All cancer is just a deficiency of vitamin B17, and we sell vitamin B17.
So you do the math.
So this is all fake, but it's a very simple pitch. And it's easy to see, I think, why people sometimes fall into the traps of these fake cures, because that's a very logical progression. If you accept that cancer is just a deficiency of a vitamin, then taking the vitamin would cure cancer.
Sure.
That makes sense. Now, all of this is wrong, but it's a lot simpler of a pitch than the actual science behind anything in medicine, right?
Right.
Which is a lot more hard. It was a lot more difficult to explain.
Right.
Anyway, a lot of different doctors and medical boards started hearing these claims and getting complaints about it because this was bananas. However, there were other doctors who heard them and said, hey, maybe that's true. Specifically, there was a family medicine doctor. Hurts my heart,
Good job, y'all.
In California, named Arthur Harris, who became a huge supporter, and he changed the name of his office, his family medicine office, to the Harris Cancer Clinic. I don't think you're allowed. I mean, I guess you shouldn't do that. I don't know if you're allowed to, but you shouldn't. And the California Medical Association began to receive complaints. So they actually approached Krebs and said, we need some evidence of this. Like, now we've got these cancer clinics popping up, and we don't know why, and this shouldn't work, and give us some evidence. He provided some case reports, like, well, here's some stories of patients I cured, but no trials, no big, large studies to prove anything.
Right.
They offered him the chance to perform a study at LA County Hospital.
And he did it, and it worked.
No, he said, I will only do it if you let me put my supporters in charge of the entire study.
Hey, no, bad. Right? That's bad, right, for science?
Well, that doesn't. So, and of course, the California Medical Association said, well, no, we can't. We can't do that. And so he said, well, never mind, you can't do the study then. So that was that.
Yeah.
This may have just faded away like their other attempts at fake medicines if it weren't for a certain individual who was not necessarily, he had no medical training, but he did have money and power and the ability to market a substance. Andrew McNaughton.
Who's that?
This was a guy, he met Krebs in 1965, and he had already kind of made a name for himself as like a test pilot for the Royal Canadian Air Force. He'd gotten training in electrical engineering and geology and mining and business, and he'd already made a huge fortune. He was a very rich, powerful guy. Like, he'd worked with Castro, and Castro had made him an honorary citizen of Cuba for some of the work he'd done.
Folks, again, if you can't offer an honorary doctorate, if you can make me an honorary citizen of Cuba, that would work too. That's fine. Take what I can get at this point.
Just honorary anything.
Honorary anything.
So,
anything that doesn't require work but does seem impressive, I'm down for.
So McNaughton's this big, powerful, rich guy who already has a foundation where he's trying to fund projects that he deems on the outer limits of scientific knowledge.
Ooh, spooky.
So he meets Krebs, and Krebs intrigues him. He tells him about the Laetrile Wars. The wars over this. Yeah. He's created a cure for cancer. Nobody wants him to get it to the public.
Nobody has the guts.
He is totally swayed by this argument, and he starts promoting and distributing it. He founded the International Biozymes Limited to distribute it in Canada, and he built factories in 7 countries, and he basically makes it this giant thing. He even helps with the PR for it. He commissions a freelance writer to publish articles about it, to write a book. This guy, Glenn Kittler, writes a whole book about the hidden cancer cure that nobody wants you to know about. He paid for a surgeon to come, this guy, John Marone, to come attend a lecture and then publish articles about it. So McNaughton is really the guy who, I think they call him now the godfather of Laetrile or whatever, but he is the guy who made it a thing with his money and his influence. Everybody got on board. If you're curious, he would later get in trouble for stock fraud. But he was fined $10,000 and was sentenced to 1 day in jail. He served neither. He did not pay the money, nor did he serve the day in jail. I think he just left Canada or something.
I'll do it.
So anyway, because of all this, more doctors got on board with this fake cure. It became very popular with Dr. Ernesto Contreras, who was working just across the border from where Krebs was a lot of the time in Tijuana. And so it became like this. He would funnel patients down as stuff was getting cracked down in the U.S., as more and more doctors were getting shut down for doing this in the U.S. Krebs would just kind of draw patients in and then funnel them down across the border to Contreras, where he could give them the Laetrile, charge them $150 a month, He treated thousands of patients there, and like when they asked for any evidence, do you have anything to publish? Like you treated thousands of patients, you say you cured them. Where's your data? Yeah, he only ever presented 12 cases, and of the 12, 6 of them had still died, so it didn't work. 2 ended up using conventional cancer treatments. 1 still had cancer but was still alive, and 3 they could never find.
So that's
out of the thousands he claimed.
That's a 0,
right?
On that, that's a zilcho. So
legal battles raged over this for years. Various doctors getting shut down and reprimanded, and losing their licenses, and the government seizing shipments of Laetrile in different parts of the country and all kinds of stuff. The National Cancer Institute did 2 studies to try to one, investigate, or is there anything here? Sure. And 2, prove if there isn't, let's just put it to bed. One was like a retrospective study where they just sent letters out to every doctor and health professional who had ever used it. It was 385,000 doctors and 70,000 other health professionals, and said, send us your cases.
Right.
Send us your proof. They got 93 responses. Of these, only 2 of those patients were actually in cancer remission. 4 were in partial remission, and they could never prove that these people even existed.
Great.
It was all just word of mouth. It was all just stated. They also received a bunch of case reports from doctors saying that it didn't work, which they didn't ask for. They just said, send us your success stories, and they got a bunch of, well, I don't have those, but here are a bunch of cases.
Here's another thing I have.
They did a clinical trial after that using Laetrile, and the results were absolutely clear. Not a single patient was cured. Not a single patient was stabilized using the Laetrile. And they used the stuff made by his company, by the way.
So the official
Laetrile. The survival rate was 4.8 months from the start of therapy, and in those who were still alive, their tumors had gotten bigger. In addition, several patients experienced symptoms of cyanide toxicity. Why did they experience symptoms of cyanide toxicity?
Because in apricot seeds, much like lima beans and apple seeds and a few other things, there's something in it that causes your body to produce cyanide.
Yep. Very good, Justin.
Thank you. I remember that.
Very, very good. So yes, not only was it not curing cancer,
or your body produces cyanide or processes as cyanide.
You end up as a byproduct. You have cyanide. Okay. Yeah. So yes. So it also was giving some people cyanide poisoning.
Cool vitamin.
Yeah. So it is not a vitamin. It might kill you, and it won't cure your cancer.
Get this into Flintstones.
So
come on.
This study, by the way, was back in the 80s. This should have closed the books on Laetrile forever.
Should have.
It doesn't work, and it might give you cyanide poisoning.
Yes.
Despite all this, you can still buy apricot seeds, apricot pits. You can buy B17. You can buy amygdalin, whatever you want to call it, online. It is still sold. I don't know if Laetrile, the brand. Yeah. Well, I think it's still, but I think they still use that name. Proponents of it still use that name. The hospital that Contreras founded down in Tijuana is still open, and they provide a variety of alternative treatments for cancer and fake treatments for cancer, and this is among them. You can still get this. It can indeed give you cyanide poisoning. I'm not going to say that happens most of the time, but it might happen to you. And more importantly, it does not treat or cure cancer at all. Period.
Doesn't do anything.
No, it doesn't do anything. But it's still out there, and you can buy them online. I found that was how I got to this topic. Is our wonderful listeners suggested it, and I followed their link and found where I could buy bags of apricot seeds, and they're actually.
What is that URL so people can get some of their very own right now?
Do that. You can look at it, but they tout them for everything because they've changed their claims over the years. They've said, well, maybe it doesn't cure cancer, but it definitely stabilizes it. Well, maybe it doesn't stabilizes it, but it definitely helps chemo. If you get chemo, you can do this too, and it helps it. Okay, well, maybe it doesn't do that, but it definitely helps cancer pain. Okay, well, maybe it doesn't do any of that, but it's really good for you. It detoxes you, and it's good for general wellness. That's what when you don't know what else to say about your fake medicine/supplement, just say it's good for general wellness, because that means nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
And you can, I guess, put it on a bag and sell it to people on the internet.
There you go. Well, folks, B-17 sounds real. It isn't. So if you see anybody you know and love talking about B-17, make sure you point them towards this episode so they'll have a rich understanding.
Yes, it might harm them and it will not help them.
Sid, the holiday season has arrived, and we had a special plug. Two things we wanted to mention. Why don't you go first, then I'll go second.
Well, first of all, we would ask again this year. We are doing the Candle Night Stars. If you remember last year, we picked an organization in the state of West Virginia that needed a little bit of help this time of year, and we are doing the same thing this year with the Women's Health Clinic of West Virginia, Women's Health Center of West Virginia. They are the last remaining health clinic in this state that provides comprehensive reproductive health services for anyone in need. It is a nonprofit organization. They won't turn you away no matter what, and so they need donations to help keep them afloat. Even if you don't have insurance, they don't care. They're there to help you. They provide comprehensive gynecologic family planning services, contraception, pregnancy management, everything. All reproductive health services, and they're the last one in the state, and they need our help, and so we are asking if you would like to contribute to that. We have a GoFundMe page for Candle Night Stars. So just go to bit.ly/Candle Night Star, and if you can contribute, anything will help them. What we're asking is if you can give $5, we will put your name on a star, and it will be displayed on the Candle Night stage this year. We're not doing a giant banner because that took a really long time. We're going to do it in beautiful garlands.
Beautiful garlands.
We also won't accidentally get hot glue on the stage that way.
In our hands.
And
our beautiful baby
hands. That's the
hands.
bigger thing. But if you can give even $5, if you can't, even just sharing the link, spreading the word, it really helps people in need, people who deserve to receive reproductive health services and might not be able to in this state.
Folks, I have one real quick too. It's my brother and me Angels time. Once again, there's this list called Empty Stockings that our local paper puts out every year, which features a lot of really heartbreaking needs in our area for this holiday season. Some are parents who just want to get something under the tree for their kids. Some are adults who need a little help, and we are our listeners really work together every year to try to meet those needs. If you go to mbambangels.com, you can claim items. They are almost all claimed up, but you can also donate money that'll go towards larger items. They've bought beds. They've bought wheelchair ramps for places. It is really an amazing effort. And if you go to mbambangels.com, you can get involved with that. So, folks, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you. Sydney, anything else?
No, I think that'll do it. Thank you so much. And
thanks to the taxpayers for the use of their own medicines as the intro and outro of our program.
That, too.
That's going to do it for us, folks. So, until next time, my name is Justin McElroy.
I'm Sydney McElroy.
And as always, don't drill a hole in your head.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture. Artist owned.
Listener supported.
Sawbones is a show about medical history, and nothing the hosts say should be taken as medical advice or opinion. It's for fun. Can't you just have fun for an hour and not try to diagnose your mystery boil? We think you've earned it. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy a moment of distraction from that weird growth. You're worth it.
All right. Song is about some books. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. We came across a pharmacy with its windows
welcome to Sawbones, a marital tour of misguided medicine. I'm your co-host, Justin McElroy.
And I'm Sydney McElroy.
It's been like 3 weeks, Sid, since we've been recorded in this fashion. I mean, we missed a week last week. The week before that, we recorded across from each other. Which is kind of strange. Or across the states, I should say.
That's true.
Yeah.
That was unusual.
That was unusual. Hey, Sid, have you ever recorded an episode of Sawbones before?
What?
Just answer.
Yes.
Hey, Sid, have you ever... No, I was asking again. Hey, Sid, have you ever recorded an episode of Sawbones before?
Yes.
Hey, Sid, have you ever recorded an episode of Sawbones before on weed?
No. Is that really... Is that going to be the... Can we not...
Jon Stewart, Half-Baked. Amazing. Amazing performances. This has been great performances on PBS, starring Jon Stewart as the
Justin,
guy from Half-Baked who asked if you'd done everything on weed.
We've already done a whole episode on medical marijuana, so you may be confusing some of our listeners.
Well, it's because I'm on weed, Sid.
You're not.
I'm on a lot of weed.
No.
And so I'm a little mixed up, a little loopy, go cuckoo in the head, you say.
Do you want to share what you... So Justin is prone to self-experimentation. He likes to try new things.
You gotta try new things because it might help your anxiety. That's what Daniel Tiger says.
So what have you been dabbling in lately, Justin?
So the thing that I've been sort of messing around with is CBD oil, which stands for cannabis buds. Oil.
No, cannabidiol. Nope.
And we were at the health food store, and I guess it should have been a tip off because we were at this new health food store in Huntington, and we were like making fun of like all kinds of whack stuff that was in there that we'd seen on Sawbones, that we covered on Sawbones. Like, this is whack, this is made up, this is stupid, this is whack. And then there was, as we were checking out, I got something at the counter. What is it that I had to get? It was like Charlie wanted something. She saw something pink there, and so I was buying it. And then I saw CBD oil at the counter, and I'd heard that was like good for anxiety. So I was like, for some reason, I forgot that everything else in the store was made up, and thought like maybe this will do it. So I bought this dropper of CBD oil, and I said, "Can I have some CBD oil, please?" And he had this whole display, and he was like, "Which one?" And I was like, "I actually don't have any."
The one everybody likes?
I've put no
really
thought into this.
One?
What's they just opened. So they don't even know what the popular one is. So I just like got one at random that was peppermint and looked like regular. I thought I was playing with some pretty strong forces, and I didn't want to get into like the deep stuff because it was weed, and I was afraid.
Was there one that was called the deep stuff?
No, it's called I think there was a maximum strength, if memory serves, and I did not want to get into
the
that.
Deep stuff, the dank stuff, the double strength
herb.
stuff.
The good stuff.
Can I have the double stuff?
I thought I was going to get arrested, so I was trying to be quick. And also, I didn't talk about it. I was afraid I was going to get arrested by the wife doctor police.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know that I was buying it. I was afraid you'd make fun of me.
I didn't. I was looking at I was like, well, it's unfortunate that we have this store that has so many fake products in it, but then they also had some good vegan foods for when my sister comes into town. So I was perusing
those while I was getting hooked on weed. Hooked on the good dank stuff.
Justin, do you know what you bought?
Okay, kidding aside.
Do you know what it is?
'Cause I'm not that much of a dunce. As I understand it, it is a oil that is made as a byproduct of cannabis that in and of itself has no psychotropic qualities.
That is correct. It is there are like 113 cannabinoids in hemp, in marijuana, and it's one of them. And it's not THC. THC is what makes you high. And cannabidiol is not. So it's not. Have you thought you've been high on it? That's a great question. Let's start with that. Do you think? Were you thinking you were high?
No,
because you're not.
I don't think I did.
Okay.
Think I was high.
All right. Well, we've eliminated.
We're having a little bit of fun.
All right. Well, just making
for
sure.
The show. No, I mean, you let me know when you're ready for me to talk about my experiences with it.
Do you want me to go through the evidence first, or do you want to talk about your experience?
It might be easier for me. Actually, you know what? It might be better for me if I talk about sort of my perspective on it, because I feel like I might be too embarrassed after you tell me.
Okay.
I did.
That's like the absolute worst blind travel I've ever seen anyone get, ever. Like, what the fuck was that? I can't even believe that. Yeah, I have no words. I gotta check how far that was. That was ridiculous, actually. Well, how do I find out? It was like, nope, wrong portal. Alright, I was at like fucking, I feel like those were cut blind coordinates, right? Like I was at fucking, well, where did I go? What bastion did I go to? Oh my god. Well, I went to that one. So close and yet so far. Well, no, not with the gold pig. And then I just went this way, yeah. And that was like something over here. It was like either uh 620 or something. Yeah. So this was it, I think. And I blinded from here. Is that not good blind coordinates? Like what? Fucking ridiculous. What was that only? Can't be right. It can't be only 2,300 blocks. It felt like 250 or 2,500 or something. Where did I throw? I threw like over here or something. Same one. Don't know where I stand. Well, 2,300 is still fucking awful, but I mean, I guess it's not as bad as it felt. It felt a lot worse. Can't believe I PB'd with a 2,000 block blind. This is why divine travel is necessary.